She had everything the world thought a princess could ever want: beauty, fame, a palace, a prince. But behind the fairy tale was a life filled with loneliness, pressure, heartbreak, and a desperate search to be truly free. So how did a shy young woman become the most beloved princess in the world? And why, nearly 3 decades after her death, does the world still refuse to forget her? This is the story behind the People's Princess. She was called the People's Princess, a shy teenager turned global icon, whose life unfolded in headlines, palace corridors, charity wards, and the world's memory. She became one of the most recognizable women of the 20th century. But behind the photographs, the elegant dresses, and the royal ceremonies was a complicated human story. It was a story shaped by childhood pain, public pressure, private unhappiness, compassion, courage, and tragedy. This is the story of Diana, Princess of Wales, a woman whose life changed the meaning of royalty, fame, and compassion for millions around the world. Diana Frances Spencer was born on the 1st of July 1961 at Park House on the Sandringham estate in Norfolk. She came from one of Britain's most prominent aristocratic families. Her father was Edward John Spencer, who later became the 7th Earl Spencer. Her mother was Frances Spencer, who also came from an aristocratic background. Diana's childhood included country estates, formal traditions, royal neighbors, and a famous family name. But her early life was not as secure as the photographs might suggest. Her parents' marriage broke apart when Diana was still young. The separation deeply affected the children. Diana later described the emotional shock of her mother leaving and the uncertainty that followed. After the separation, Diana and her siblings lived with their father. They remained surrounded by privilege, but the family had changed. Behind the grand houses and formal portraits was a young girl learning that even apparently permanent things could disappear. Diana attended Riddlesworth Hall and later West Heath School in Kent. She was remembered as kind, shy, and athletic. Swimming and outdoor activities suited her better than academic competition. She did not become known for examination success, but people who knew her often remembered her warmth and her ability to make others feel comfortable. In 1975, her grandfather died, and her father inherited the Spencer title. Diana became Lady Diana Spencer, and the family moved to Althorp, the historic Spencer estate in Northamptonshire. The title gave Diana a place in Britain's aristocratic world, but it did not determine her personality. She remained unusually approachable for someone born into that environment. By the end of her teenage years, she was living in London and working ordinary jobs, including childcare and nannying. She shared a flat, spent time with friends, and experienced a life much closer to ordinary London society than to the formal world she would soon enter. At this point, Diana was not yet a princess. She was a young woman with a famous family name, but also with a relatively ordinary daily life, and no way of knowing how quickly the world was about to change. Diana first met Prince Charles in 1977, when she was 16. At the time, Charles was connected to her older sister, Sarah. Their relationship changed several years later. In 1980, Diana and Charles met again at a country weekend in Sussex. Charles had recently experienced the loss of his great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten, and Diana later described comforting him during a difficult moment. The relationship developed quickly, although the two had spent relatively little time together before the courtship became serious. Their meetings took place under intense public and family interest. Charles was the heir to the British throne. Diana was young, aristocratic, and considered suitable for the role of a future queen. But suitability and emotional readiness are not always the same thing. In February 1981, Charles proposed at Windsor Castle. The engagement immediately became an international story. Newspapers and television stations presented the couple as the central figures in a modern royal fairy tale. But behind the public excitement was a young woman preparing to enter one of the most demanding institutions in the world. On the 29th of July 1981, Lady Diana Spencer married the Prince of Wales at St. Paul's Cathedral in London. The wedding became one of the most watched events in television history. Hundreds of millions of people followed the ceremony, the carriage procession, and the couple's appearance on the Buckingham Palace balcony. Diana's wedding dress, with its dramatic sleeves, long train, and enormous veil, quickly became one of the most recognizable dresses of the 20th century. The images were bright, grand, and almost unreal. Diana appeared to have stepped directly into a fairy tale. At only 20 years old, she became Princess of Wales and one of the most famous women on earth. But the ceremony also marked the beginning of a new kind of pressure. From that day forward, Diana's clothes, expressions, friendships, movements, and private emotions would all be watched by the public and the press. The world saw a princess. Diana still had to discover who she was inside the role. The early years of Diana's marriage brought two sons. Prince William was born in 1982, and Prince Harry was born in 1984. Diana embraced motherhood with unusual warmth. She held her children close, took them on public outings, and tried to give them experiences that felt more normal than the rigid traditions surrounding royal life. Her approach was often hands-on. She wanted her sons to understand the world outside palaces, official ceremonies, and royal privilege. For many people, Diana's relationship with William and Harry revealed her most natural quality. She could be surrounded by ceremony and still focus on the individual in front of her. But while motherhood gave Diana a powerful sense of purpose, her marriage was under increasing pressure. The relationship between Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles remained part of the emotional background. Diana later described feeling lonely, overwhelmed, and unsupported. She also spoke about struggles with bulimia and emotional distress. These revelations helped the public understand that the smiling princess seen in photographs was carrying private pain. As the marriage became more difficult, Diana's public work continued to grow. She visited hospitals, children's wards, shelters, and charitable organizations. She often knelt to speak with children at eye level rather than remaining distant behind formal protocol. That detail became part of her public identity. Diana did not simply arrive, wave, and leave. She often tried to create a personal connection. One of her most important causes was HIV and AIDS. During the 1980s, fear and misinformation surrounded the disease. Many people wrongly believed that HIV could be transmitted through ordinary touch. Diana challenged that fear by meeting patients and shaking hands without wearing gloves. The gesture was simple, but its meaning was powerful. A globally recognized royal was showing millions of people that compassion was more important than stigma. Diana's public influence came not only from her title, it came from the way she used her presence. By the early 1990s, the marriage had become impossible to sustain privately. In December 1992, the Prime Minister announced the formal separation of Charles and Diana. The announcement confirmed what much of the public had already begun to suspect. The royal fairy tale had split in full view of the world. The separation was painful, but it also opened a new chapter for Diana. She began to speak more openly about her experience and increasingly sought to define her public role on her own terms. In 1995, she gave the BBC Panorama interview that changed her public story forever. Diana spoke about emotional pain, mental health, self-harm, and the pressures she felt inside the royal system. When asked about Camilla, she said, "There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded." The sentence became one of the most quoted statements of the decade. The interview did more than create controversy. It showed the public a woman who was no longer willing to remain silent inside a role written by others. The divorce was finalized in 1996. Diana retained the title Princess of Wales and continued to be the mother of William and Harry, but she lost the style of Her Royal Highness. Her life after the divorce was different. She was no longer expected to perform every part of the traditional royal role, and she began to shape a more independent public identity. Her fashion changed as well. The carefully controlled royal wardrobe gave way to sharp suits, elegant evening wear, modern dresses, and more confident silhouettes. Her clothing was no longer simply part of royal protocol. It became a way to communicate independence. At the 1996 Met Gala, Diana wore a navy Dior slip dress with her famous pearl and sapphire choker. The appearance became one of the defining fashion images of her later life. She was still connected to the royal family, but she was no longer simply being presented to the public. She was presenting herself. The transformation was visible in every appearance. Diana seemed less like a young woman performing a role, and more like a woman controlling her own story. After the divorce, Diana focused her energy on causes that felt personal and urgent. She continued visiting children's hospitals and hospices. She met people experiencing homelessness and spoke with those living at the edges of society. Her style of charity was direct. She listened, touched, sat beside people, and tried to make them feel visible. This was particularly important at a time when public figures often appeared behind barriers, surrounded by officials and carefully managed schedules. Diana's approach was different. She understood that a photograph of a famous person beside someone who had been ignored could change the way the public looked at that person. Her humanitarian work was not separate from her celebrity. She used her celebrity to draw attention to issues that were often overlooked. The more she worked with vulnerable people, the more her public identity moved away from royal ceremony and toward human connection. This was when many people began calling her the People's Princess. Diana's humanitarian work reached a global audience in 1997 when she visited Angola. She walked through a cleared minefield, wearing protective equipment. The image was powerful because it transformed a complicated international issue into something the public could immediately understand. Landmines remain hidden after wars end. They can injure or kill people years later, long after soldiers have left the area. By walking through the cleared path, Diana placed herself in the center of the conversation. She met survivors, spoke with humanitarian workers, and drew international attention to the campaign against landmines. Her visit also demonstrated the unusual power of celebrity diplomacy. Diana was not an elected politician or military leader, but her ability to attract global media coverage gave the issue a reach that technical reports rarely achieved. Some governments and campaigners criticized the political effect of her intervention, while others praised her for bringing public attention to the humanitarian consequences of war. Whatever the debate, the images from Angola became among the most memorable of her life. Away from the cameras, Diana was also searching for a private life. She developed a relationship with British Pakistani heart surgeon Hasnat Khan. The relationship was largely kept away from public attention, and people close to Diana later described him as one of the great loves of her life. The privacy mattered. Diana was internationally famous, but she still wanted a relationship that was not defined by headlines. By the summer of 1997, that relationship had ended. Diana then began spending time with Dodi Fayed, the son of Egyptian businessman Mohammed Al-Fayed. Diana and her son spent time with the Fayed family on a yacht in the Mediterranean. Photographs of Diana and Dodi quickly became front-page news. For a brief period, Diana appeared relaxed and free, surrounded by sunlight, blue water, and summer landscapes. But the cameras were still present. The same media attention that helped Diana promote humanitarian causes also followed her private movements. By the end of that summer, the distance between celebrity and danger had become painfully small. On the night of the 30th of August, 1997, Diana and Dodi left the Ritz Hotel in Paris with their driver, Henri Paul. The car entered the Pont de l'Alma tunnel while photographers pursued it. The crash was catastrophic. Dodi Fayed and Henri Paul died at the scene. Diana was taken to the Pitié-Salpêtrière hospital, where doctors worked for hours to save her. She died in the early morning of the 31st of August, 1997. She was 36 years old. The news spread around the world before many people had even begun their day. Later official investigations rejected claims of a murder conspiracy. They found no credible evidence of a planned assassination. A British inquest later returned a verdict of unlawful killing, concluding that grossly negligent driving by Henri Paul and the pursuing paparazzi had contributed to the deaths. It also considered factors including dangerous speed and the failure of the car's occupants to wear seatbelts. The official findings did not end public debate, but they established an important distinction. There was no evidence of a planned assassination, while dangerous driving and the pursuit by photographers were found to have contributed to the tragedy. The reaction to Diana's death was unlike anything seen in modern British public life. Flowers appeared outside Kensington Palace. Candles were placed on pavements. People wrote messages to a woman they had never met, yet felt they had known through television and photographs. The mourning crossed national borders, languages, and generations. On the 6th of September 1997, Diana's funeral took place at Westminster Abbey. Millions watched the procession and the service. Her sons, William and Harry walked behind the coffin in a moment that became one of the most painful and recognizable images of the ceremony. Elton John performed a reworked version of Candle in the Wind, turning a song originally written about Marilyn Monroe into a tribute to Diana. The funeral was both a national ceremony and a deeply personal public moment. People grieved not only the death of a princess, but the loss of an image of kindness, vulnerability, and closeness. Diana had become emotionally present in the lives of people who had never spoken to her. Diana's story did not end with the funeral. Her sons, William and Harry, later carried aspects of her approach to public service into their own work, including mental health advocacy and humanitarian causes. Her influence can also be seen in the way public figures engage with vulnerable communities. Diana helped make personal contact an important part of public service. Her work with people living with HIV and AIDS challenged stigma. Her visits to hospitals and shelters made neglected issues visible. Her appearance in Angola helped bring the dangers of landmines to a worldwide audience. Her legacy is also visible in fashion, media, and the modern image of royalty. Diana showed that a royal could be glamorous and vulnerable, traditional and rebellious, powerful and deeply human. She did not always fit comfortably within the institution she represented. But the tension between Diana and the royal system became part of her historical importance. She changed what many people expected from a member of the royal family. Princess Diana's life was marked by contradictions. She was born into privilege but experienced private pain. She became one of the most famous women in the world but often searched for privacy. She lived inside a powerful institution, but used her public position to challenge fear, stigma, and social distance. She was admired for her beauty, but remembered most deeply for the way she made people feel seen. Her life was brief. Her marriage became a global drama. Her death became an international tragedy. But her most lasting story may be the one she created through direct human contact. Diana showed that compassion could be public. She showed that fame could be used not only for admiration, but also for empathy. And she showed that one person's courage could change how the world sees power, suffering, royalty, and purpose. That is why her story continues to be retold.